Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on the video as always. If you hadn't guessed already from the title of this video, I'm in a very special Pinewood at the moment over on Deeside in the Cairngorms National Park in Scotland. I basically had a week off work and decided to do a van trip slash whistle stop tour of some of the eastern ancient Caledonian pinewood remnants. This is actually my 4th day on the trip and the 3rd pinewood of the trip, and you'll hear more about them later on in the video. The weather's been absolutely incredible since I got here. It's like the summer we just didn't get this year. It was 25 degrees yesterday. It's 20 degrees today already. It's just coming up to 11 o'clock. So we're actually struggling a little bit. I've got quite a big pack with me. 6 litres of that is just water, just in case. And the other pinewoods I've just done basically a day visit, but the weather's so nice that I decided to do at least one camp this week, so that's what I'm doing just now. I don't have too far to walk, maybe 5 kilometres from the van. Just keeping it nice and easy. I haven't seen many people this week at all, which has been ideal. So yeah, if you want to see and hear a bit more about our eastern pinewoods over on Deeside, stick around and I hope you enjoy the video. So I'm probably about, I don't know, 350 metres up now, and past the sign there that said the Pinewood Regeneration Zone, and you can feel the difference. The lower forest that I walked up through, although it's nice and there's some granny pines, you can see that it's been quite intensively managed in the past. But then you come into this zone higher up and there's a lot more of those kind of twisted, gnarled granny pines and a lot more regeneration too, so they're obviously managing their conservation efforts on this upper region more than that lower region at the moment, as far as I know. I've just kind of walked up the side of one of the burns here and I've just found the perfect pitch. Some big trees for some shade, got water supply. I've got a view to the hills that way. I don't know if you can see, I've got a view to the hills behind me. And you know, in forests like this, a lot of the time it's kind of clumpy, lumpy, bumpy sort of heather. But there's a nice grassy spot here, so this is just ideal. And it's so hot I cannot be bothered walking any further, so this will be the camp spot. So on the way in, I don't think I actually mentioned the name of the pinewood that I'm camping out in tonight, so I just thought I would talk a little bit about it just now. The pinewood we're in is known as Ballochbuie, and that's actually a great example of what I was talking about in my previous video, with Gaelic being kind of altered and anglicised. The buoy part of Ballochbuie comes from buie, which is the Gaelic word for yellow, and apparently the translation of the name is yellow road or yellow pass. But the wood itself is a considerable pinewood remnant, again one of our biggest, and it forms part of the Balmoral estate, which obviously belongs to the British royal family. It's another Deeside pine woodland with, you know, a long history. The wood's obviously been here for a long time. Some of the trees in this wood are known to be over 400 years old. There's that royal history of hunting and, you know, exploiting the forest for resources, and you'll hear a lot more about that in the second half of this video when I go and visit some of the other pine woods. And the main thing about a lot of these woods is, you know, they're not untouched fragments of wilderness by any means. They've been used, they've been lived in, like I say, they've been exploited. People have used the resources from them for centuries. But the key thing is there's core elements of that ancient Caledonian pinewood that have survived, and on a reasonable scale. So when it comes to restoring the woodland around about it, we've got a lot more to work with today. This is such a nice camp spot. I think it's up there with one of the nicest places I've camped in Scotland, to be honest. But this stream that's running beside me here, on the map it's called Gareth Alt, and that just translates to the rough burn. And rough because of all these rocks, huge rocks, some of them. I'm not sure if it's a glacial thing where these rocks have been deposited, or whether it's you know, when the burn's in spate, maybe it has these like once in 100-year spates that just force all these rocks down the watercourse. I'm not sure. And the alt is just, that's the Gaelic name for a burn, and burn is a Scottish word for stream. So if you ever see the word alt on an OS map, it's just a stream. You win some, you lose some. It's not too bad, to be honest. It's just enough to be irritating. I've actually put my jumper on, and it's still really warm, so I'm roasting, but it's just something to cover my arms. I just can't believe how warm it is still. It's just gone 7 o'clock, and it must be close to 20 degrees. Definitely very high teens. The light here at the moment is just incredible. I've taken some shots of it, but as usual it really doesn't do it justice. I was running about all over the place and I forgot about my water. The alcohol stove's gone. I think the water must have been boiling, so I'm just going to throw some pasta in here and I've got another like pasta packet thing. It's tomato, so it makes quite a nice, well, I say nice, a basic sauce for it. Right guys, that's actually 8:30 now. It's pretty dark. My food's ready to eat, so I think I'm just going to call it a day there and have this food inside the tent and just relax. Barring any incident or some incredible aurora shots, I will see you in the morning. Right guys, that's it. It's just past 11 o'clock now, so I'm packing up and I'm going to head out. If you want to stick around for Forest Thoughts, please do. It's going to be a long one this time. Like I say, I'm doing a bit of a whistle-stop tour around some of the eastern Pinewoods here, so it might even end up being the longer part of the video. We'll just call it the second half rather than Forest Thoughts maybe. But if not, I hope you enjoyed the video so far, and I will hopefully see you on the next one. Hi folks, thanks for sticking around for Forest Thoughts and the second half of this video. And these are some of the most easterly Caledonian pinewood remnants that we have left. So the first day I was at a remnant called Glenferrick, which is actually just outside the eastern boundary of the Cairngorms National Park, and I'm working my way back through the woodlands back towards Braemar and then Mar Lodge. And I've never actually visited any of these pinewoods before. I've been to Braemar a few times in my sort of lifetime, but I've not explored the pinewoods round about it. And for me, I guess Deeside kind of feels like that sort of home of the pinewood in Scotland. In terms of the climate and the soils, it's much more similar to sort of more continental boreal pinewood than most of the pinewoods that I visit more regularly kind of in the northwest of Scotland. Although there's only 4 sort of main pinewood remnants, and some of them are amongst our biggest remnants that we have left, there's a lot of woodland that's kind of self-sown from that Caledonian forest, or forests that have been planted using stock and seed, again from those Caledonian pinewoods. So there's just a lot of pinewood stuff in Deeside, you know, just a lot of nice woodlands. You know, it's just a great area for pine and birch, and just kind of everywhere you look. You know, in terms of Scotland, it's probably one of the most extensively forested areas, especially in terms of native woodland. And as I say, it's Royal Deeside. It's obviously got a long association with the royal family, with Balmoral in the middle of it, Balmoral estate, and there's just a lot of wealthy estates and landowners in Deeside, and not just that royal association, but having that, you know, these kind of sort of grand, majestic woodlands on their estate where they would go hunting, and, you know, all these kind of romantic ideas of, you know, having a Highland estate to play in. And that's meant that a lot of these woodlands have been here for quite a long time, and that longevity has meant that in this area there's a much richer, kind of stronger cultural connection to the forest and the resources it can provide. None of these pine woods are untouched by any means. You know, they've a long history of management, periods of exploitation. Most of them have seen fairly catastrophic fires at different points. There was a lot of, you know, sawmills on these estates, and, you know, the forest was used. It was used for its timber, for, like I say, for its hunting, for game. That connection is still here today. And I think in some ways we've come to think of these pinewood remnants as sort of like the last untouched corners of wilderness. But it couldn't be any further from the truth. I mean, a lot of these areas have survived because people used them and saw the value in them to certain extents. It might not have been in terms of conservation back then, it is now, but they still saw the importance of maintaining some kind of woodland on their estates. And obviously part of that is, it's, you know, the royal family and wealthy people, they just want a nice forest around about the place that they own. Because of that wealth, it meant that a lot of these forests didn't really have to be over exploited, you know, just to make a living or just to make ends meet. And that's what happened in a lot of the areas in the northwest, where the soils are poorer, the climate's harsher. You know, things were just overexploited to the point that there's nothing left. And here, I mean, the ground and the climate in general is just more productive, and it's easier to make money from it. There's more access to this side of Scotland, you know, from the east coast in terms of shipping and all that kind of stuff. So you can really see that wealth divide between, you know, the west and the east. This area that I'm camped in just now really is one of the nicest corners I've been to in Scotland, I think. It's got a little bit of everything that you don't see in other pine woods. You've obviously got the big granny pines, but there's, you know, there's young pines coming through, there's natural regeneration. Just sitting here, I can see rowan, I can see birch, I can see aspen, young and old, which is not always the case. There's lots of deadwood too, so it really is a nice mix of stuff and feels quite natural. I'm not going to say wild, I don't like using the word wild, it's a bit dramatic, but definitely in a more natural state than a lot of our pine woods are. But I'll leave it there for this pine wood, and we'll head east to Glenferrick.